But I've got to record in a slightly different environment in the house tonight, a slightly more floral, girly-ish one. I'm in the living room of the house, basically because the light bulb in the kitchen where I normally record has blown, and being a clever clogs, I have put our light bulbs away somewhere, and I cannot for the life of me think where I have put them. They're not in any of the places that I would now search in need of one, so I've obviously done something clever there that means that I'm never gonna ever find a light bulb. The the dining room is now dead to me. I keep forgetting to buy one because I keep forgetting whether they're screw tops or whether they're the other type that I forget the name of. And I've just checked and it is the other type, but I know when I'm in the shop I won't be able to remember, and I won't be able to remember how light it's got to be. So long story short, this is probably the new backdrop. I'm probably recording in the living room for the rest of the time now. We have actually rearranged our living room. We spent the weekend doing it. I was a bit nervous. This isn't an Oliver video, but on that note, I was nervous rearranging the living room. I thought to myself, change isn't a good thing. They rearranged his classroom. It caused no end of problems. And, he's eventually adapted to it. But we involved him in the process. He enjoyed it. He was building pillow thoughts out of all the sofa pillows and stuff like that. And it seemed to work really well. Him and Emily got quite excited after a while. Long story short, I'm exhausted at the moment. It's Sunday night and I am knackered from the weekend we've had. But they got a bit hyperactive, jumping around on the pillow forts they'd made and mountains of pillows they'd built and all of this, and just generally going nuts. And then when they finally came into the living room and settled down, Ollie just wanted to sleep. I took a picture of him and tweeted actually that he'd covered himself in, like he had a neck pillow on, he had a blanket on, he had this, that and the other. He said, I'm just going to live here now. I'm actually sat where he was in that picture, funnily enough. So it's my recording studio now, not his bed. So our Saturday was pretty empty actually, other than rearranging. I feel like we have completely revolutionised our living room. I would do a 360, but I know the camera won't look great when I do it. We've gone from having like an L-shaped sofa that splits the room down so that you've got this waste of space, and then you've got this really small bit where our coffee table and everything was, to now we've split the L into two eyes, I guess, and just put them in separate places, and the room just looks massive. It looks like we've got so much space now, and as a result, Ben's obviously been running riot. I am knackered from chasing him around. He has been in everything. He's got a fun game of let's bang toys into the telly, which is obviously fragile because it's one of these thin, newer ones, and every time he pokes it, you just see this white splodge appear on it, and I'm just... oh, he's basically a walking insurance claim at the moment. We've had to temporarily rewire the skybox so it goes around the edge of the door, and I bought some covering stuff to do it, but I've not had a chance to yet, and he keeps going to give that a yank, and it's not tied in, it doesn't matter if it comes down, but I'm just mortified that he's yanking on this bloody thing if he gets near it. It's difficult for him to get near, but you know what kids are like. So yeah, that was our Saturday, was just boring DIY stuff, and I'm obviously not going to do a video just about that, although part of me wishes I'd filmed stuff like that, because it is like watching Homer Simpson try and complete a task. Claire did comment at the end that I didn't get annoyed while I was doing it. I didn't go into a kind of a rage, not at her, but well, sometimes with her obviously, but not at what I was doing. I didn't suddenly just scream and run at it head first and just explode into a load of wood going everywhere or anything like that. I just grunted around shunting stuff from A to B and trying to think about the logistics. It all seems to have worked out very well. I'm very pleased. I'm very impressed with my ability for her to hold up a wire and for me to go, that is the I don't know, the TV speaker power cable, that is the HDMI from the skybox to the, I could tell her what every wire was and what it was for. Although oddly, right at the end, we ended up with 3 spare wires and nothing to plug them into, so I don't know what they were hanging out of, but they've just been out of the back of the telly for however long, and we've finally got rid of them. But it all looks very tidy now. Yeah, it has. So today was supposed to be a rest day, although Claire had a lie-in today because I had a lie-in yesterday. So that meant I was up quite early with Ben, and we were basically trying to keep him still, not let him run riot, not let him wake the house up. It's Christmas market day, that's what we did. I was racking my brain thinking, what was it we went to? And it was a funny decision because there's a Christmas market in Market Deeping and there's a Christmas market at Ferry Meadows. We live in Market Deeping, but Claire had decided she wanted to go to the Christmas market in Ferry Meadows, which is probably 25 minutes away. Now, I supported that decision because it's a much better place. It's one of my favourite places I've mentioned before. It's just a lovely big park. We went there last weekend, funnily enough, and the kids ran around. So I thought a Christmas market there will be epic. She mentioned there was going to be food. I was imagining myself eating Christmas food, roasted chestnuts, turkey, maybe a hot dog if I could find one. Just, it was going to be brilliant. I was going to be drinking mulled wine, and that was going to be perfect. We drove there. We stopped at B&Q on the way to get some bits for the door, as I mentioned, and I was getting nervous again because Ollie had been a bit off with the change, but generally okay. And then we went to a shop, and it was like, is he going to be all right? Is he going to be all right? It was getting near lunchtime. He was fantastic. He walked around just holding my hand. We've established he doesn't really like holding people's hands, but he did it, and he stayed with me the whole time. And then when we had to start looking at things, he just stood on the spot spinning in a circle. And I feel like that's fine because I know it's a comfort thing, but I felt conscious that so many people were walking around him thinking, what is he doing? Which I guess is a normal thing. He did get fed up by the end. I think it went on maybe 5 minutes longer than he needed it to, and by that point I went to pay while Claire took him to the car in tears, and he was just having a bit of a hissy fit because he wanted to eat, and he just was getting fed up. So we were all hungry at this point, and we thought, right, yep, Christmas market, let's go, let's eat Christmas. And so we drove down there, we parked, and we wandered towards it, and there was a sign that said food this way, and I'm like, here we go, food this way, this is going to be awesome. And I'm thinking, it doesn't look very full, it doesn't seem like there's very much going on here. So we're wandering along, and I'm starting to get hangry, I'm starting to get disappointed and hangry, and I saw a little cart with chestnuts in it, and I saw a donut place, but I couldn't see any kind of meat or main sort of. I needed a dinner. I needed a hot dog, basically. So we went in their cafe thinking maybe it's all in there, but it weren't. It was just all their normal stuff. And I know I tweeted about this. So anyone follows me on Twitter, what I'm about to say is a repeat of a story, but it's the most baffling thing I've ever seen. And bear in mind, I was hangry as well, so I was in no mind to deal with nonsense. But I looked at it, and I've double-checked the maths, and I got Claire to check the maths, and I even spoke to them about it. They were talking about this kids' meal deal thing, and it was buy any 5 items for £4.25. So we're forcing the kids to pick 5 items because something I'm not paying extra for you to just mess around. If you don't want the crisps, I'll eat the crisps. All of this, the usual parent stuff. And they're picking it all up. And I suddenly said, hang on a minute, it says here that the individual items are 70p. Now, it doesn't take like a math magician to work out that 5 times 7 is 35. Yeah, 35. £3.50. For 5 items at 70p a pop. I realised there were 2 items that you could only have one of that were £1. So it's like, even if you add the extra 30p on, that's only £3.80. So getting 5 items and being charged £4.25 isn't a deal. It's a con, or some kind of weird, stupid nonsense where you're like paying extra for the bag it comes in. So after harassing the kids to pick stuff that they didn't necessarily want just to meet the bloody meal deal, I'm then saying to them, nah, put back the stuff you don't want, just pick what you want. And we agreed that they only needed like a sandwich, an apple, and a drink. So I go to the till, and the woman's like, if you add 2 more things in here, you'll get the meal deal. And I said, right. And she goes, yeah, it'll make it £4.25 each. I said, yeah, but count it up, it's like, I can't remember what we put down there, so it must have been £1 plus 2.70p, so £2.40. And she said, yeah, but do you not want the meal deal? And I said, well, no, because as I've just pointed out, it makes it more expensive than if I just bought the items individually. And she's like, well, I could put it all together and then just charge you for the 2 extra bits. And I said, well, no, even if you do that, it's going to come out at more than what we're spending now. And she was just looking at me like I was mental. And I got her to ring it up. I was just like, ring it up. And she rang it for you. Would you like anything else? And I said, well, no, because that is less than what you're telling us this meal deal would be if we buy more. And even if I come back and bought I didn't say this bit, but I had it in my head. If I went back and bought the other 2 things, it wouldn't be £1.40 more. It'd be £1.40 for me to buy them, but you'd be charging me £2.50 if I added it into this meal deal. It's some mental deal like that. And Claire was like laughing at me because I was just so baffled by it. But I got her to go and double check that I wasn't just being mental, and she double checked and I was correct. So I don't know, just something's wrong there. The person behind the till wasn't to blame, but they were baffled. They were so confused. They thought I was mental, and someone slightly senior was with them, and they thought I was mental. But I don't think either of them were the person that made the decision. And I'm certain it was just an insane scenario when no one's questioned it in the past. So once the kids had eaten and I'd given up, I gave up on the fact that there was no turkey. I looked on the website. They said there was. I asked someone where it would be. They pointed to this empty space and said somewhere around here. And I was like, there isn't any turkey. Ah! So I was furious then. I was like, we should have gone to the deeping one. I wasn't kicking off, but I was in my head. I was thinking we should have gone to the deeping one. I knew there'd have been stuff there. We could have walked there. There'd have probably been a bar. It would have been great. I could have been drinking deeping ale and eating sausage, and it would have been great. And then, so I went and bought some dinner from this cafe. The one that had literally just tried to rip me off, I went and paid for their hot dogs and some chips for Claire and that. And we ate them. And I just sat there kind of seething a bit that we were giving these shysters even more of our money. Like, what have we done? I kind of gave up at this point. I was like, this is a waste of time. But then there's a big marquee out back and it didn't have any food in. That's not where this story's going. But we went in for a wander round. And again, the second we walked in the tent, Ollie went from being happy with what he was doing to just being unhappy and uncomfortable. And it's because it was more enclosed and more, you couldn't touch anything and everything was off limits. And he literally wanted to touch everything, and everything he needed to be getting involved in. And we were saying to him, no, you can't touch that jewellery. You can't just grab books and start playing with them, bending and whatever. I saw this fantastic set of puzzles that looked like they were specifically for people that may have trouble following routines or whatever, like one that you piece together. I assumed it was for piecing together throughout the day, but it just seemed too big and impractical to do that. But it was like, get up, wash, get dressed, get in the car, go to school, come home from school, have dinner, get ready for bed, go to bed. And it was like you pieced it together. I'm guessing it'd be something we might have in the living room or upstairs, and he'd just do those pieces. And I was looking at that, it's about £5-10, and I thought, do I want to get this? We didn't get it in the end. Claire didn't actually see it, I saw it. And I said to her, that's something we should explore in general, just to get him more G'd up to his routine. But he did get one thing. He was really getting uncomfortable and really getting unsettled. And while I was looking at the puzzle, I noticed out the corner of my eye, I noticed it was someone had knitted a Pikachu, and I was like, it looks a bit off. And I was like, well, there's a Charmander, that looks a bit off. And I was like, there's a Yoshi there. So I took Ollie over, I was like, what are these? And he's trying to wind me up. He was calling Yoshi Toad. And I was like, I'm not having this. You know that's Yoshi. He liked it and everything. And then Emily saw this little fella, a little Eevee. And Ollie fell in love with it. He was just like, I want it. And I thought, that is pretty perfect. That is spot on. Everything about that is fantastic. So we snapped that up. And what surprised me, I said to Claire, shall we get it? And she said, yeah. And then I thought it was like £5 or £6 reading the thing. So Claire hands the lady a tenner. And it was only £2. I kind of wish I'd got all the other ones. I mean, they weren't as good. The Charmander, it was kind of like that with no ears and a fiery tail, I guess. But you only knew it was Charmander if you really tried. But they had some awesome stuff there, and I thought, I could give this woman everything. Like, I could buy all of these. These are fantastic. But Ollie wants to now collect knitted Pokemon, and I said, well, that's a bit of a niche collection, mate. You can't really... it's on a shelf now. We don't want him mangling it, but I got it down. We wandered through the rest of the bit, and we came across this guy. This is the main thing I want to talk about, because I'm just like, this guy's living the dream. His name's J.T. Crowley, Crowley, and he stopped us and he said that, how old's Emily? And we were like 9 coming on 10, and he was like, perfect age. And he showed us this little poster he'd made that basically says he writes books for 7 to 11-year-olds. And he told us his story, basically. He said he'd basically jacked in his job and decided he was going to write books for a living. And I just thought, that's like, the dream. I know that's a dream for millions of people, but that's the dream. And he said to us, he's got a guy who just gets him in contact with all these events. He lives in Derby, and someone said to him, go to the Nene Valley event, flog your books. And he basically had 4 books for sale, and he had these A4 pieces of paper that explained what each of the stories were in each of his books. And he basically picked characters from around the world that he'd written about. So he's got an American girl, he's got I'm trying to think now, a British person, he had an Arabic person, just different countries essentially, and it had what their stories were about, and some of them were like involving famous people, some of them were involving like really heartfelt events. I remember one of the specific stories was a kid in whatever country it was trying to learn about what happens when the needs of mankind and the needs of nature clash in that specific country at that specific time. And we're reading through all the different bits, and he'd given it to Emily to read through, and we were reading through, and he was telling me all about his like aims and what he was basically doing, and that his aim was to basically raise as much funds as he could and show how good he was at writing, show that he'd built up a fan base so that he could get published properly and get an actual private deal that someone funds him and sends him to these events properly and promotes him on his behalf, and that he was getting there but it wasn't quite making it. And he was telling us that like he had 4 books on sale but one of them had sold out and he was running out of the other ones. Like, he didn't say that, but we could see that he had very few left, and he said this has been he didn't think it was going to be much good coming to the event, but he'd absolutely been blown away by it. And the way he spoke to Emily was really sweet. He gave them both a couple of bookmarks at first. That was what started the conversation. Was he signed the bookmarks to say like, I'm just autographing these because I'm hoping that one day I'll be famous, and this will be, it's quite an interesting little thing to be doing because I thought that's quite funny. But then I really liked what he was talking about, so he offered to he not offered to, he basically was selling the books, and he had like 3 books for whatever price, and then he had 1 book that combined the whole of the 3 books, and that, I think that ended up being like £10. But it was funny because when I was reading the different topics, I was like, well, I like these 6 sound really enticing, and then these 2 or 3 over here sound great, but I'm not that convinced about a couple of them. But I was like, if they were all in here, and then when he said he had this book, I was like, right, yep, let's give the man the money and we'll buy it. And so he wrote a little note in it to Emily saying, follow your dreams, something, I can't remember what he says now, I kind of had a quick look at it there, but he basically wrote this book, and it just sounds awesome, and I want to talk about him. I feel like I'm not doing it justice, but I try to get my thoughts out on it. He's basically written really important stories, from the sounds of it, about children from around the world who live in different scenarios and all this sort of thing. And it's geared at people like Emily's age. It just teaches them about different people, how people are different, how people have different challenges and different dreams and different needs. And he was talking about an American Indian girl he'd written about that dreamed of being an astronaut and how she was going to become an astronaut and all of this. And apparently that come about because an American said, you don't have an American character. He had all these characters he'd made up that had flags behind them, and there were like ornaments on his stand, and there was no American flag, and she was outraged. And he said, I want to write a story about a specific tribe of American Indians. And this woman was like, well, I'm from a tribe. And he was like, well, I need one that's in this area. And she was like, I live in that area. And then I was just like, this whole thing sounds ridiculously good. I was like, it's a good yarn. He seemed, I left thinking, if any of those stories weren't true, he's an excellent storyteller. If they were true, he's an excellent storyteller that has a lot of serendipitous stuff happen to him. But I'm just buzzing. I just felt like that guy has been really grafting. He seems to have done a really good job for himself so far. He told us about his Facebook group, which I can't remember, it's like a business one. He did write it down, and I don't really, there's no benefit to you lot going to it, I imagine, at this point. But I really want people to check him out. As I say, I don't know if that comes out right on the camera, but it's JT Crowley. I don't know if it flips it. JT Crowley. I should have asked him how to pronounce his name, damn it. But go read the synopsis of his books, because I kind of want him to do well now. I feel like I'm following him like a football team almost. I want to see him score. I want to see him succeed. I want to see him win. I said to him, I'm going home and I'm joining that, and I want to read the book, even though it's aimed at Emily's age. I want to read it because I'm impressed that somebody... They've just kind of shown me. I'm very stupid in that I'll look at something and I think I can't figure out how to do it. And then I see someone like him doing it and I'm like, aha. So I'm in my mind now, I'm thinking that time when I finally bite the bullet and I write a load of stuff, being able to approach it the way he does, but obviously to a different audience, would be awesome. And I just felt, I went away, I said to Claire, I didn't want to get into the fact that, oh, I like writing and all of this, because I imagine A, he hears it all the time, and B, it wasn't the suitable place for it. He was inspiring Emily at the time, but she left kind of speechless. He signed the book, as I say. She was a bit chuffed she'd got that. She was a bit overwhelmed by the pressure of, he was saying, I love writing, and then a child smiling at the thought of reading my books, and she smiled. He was like, that's what I live for, it's great. And I just thought, she's smiling because she's just like, like, I don't know what to say. But she wanted the book anyway, so we got it, and she's well chuffed, and I'm excited. I'm hoping it's good. It seemed good from what I've only read a little bit, but You know, I didn't open it and there was just glaring spelling mistakes everywhere, and it wasn't full of effing and jeffing and just weird psycho stuff. It seems like a good book, you know. But no, I'm interested in that. And then I left the fair thinking, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad we went now, because Ollie got an Evie, Emily got a book, I met an author that has inspired me a little bit. Claire and Ben had donuts, and everyone was happy. And then on the way back, we realised we were passing the Deep Inn Fair that was just finishing up. So we parked up, wandered around that for 5 minutes, realised that the Deep Inn Fair is rubbish. I think it would have been better if we'd gone and eaten there and drank there. It would have been perfect, because there was lots of food and drink, and that's generally what a Christmas market is. But all of the like market stalls that sell, you know, bits and pieces were just those annoying things you cut. You know, like when you have the felt and then it's all in a shape and you have to colour in the gaps and they're like a quid. There's a big stall of them. There's a big stall of scarves. I hate they keep inviting these awful fairground people to it who years ago, and this video is getting long so I won't go into this too long, years ago I paid £4.50 for the kids to go on this mirror maze, which they literally walked through and out of in 25 seconds, and they were so angry, like so sad that it was just this boring walk around a bend and come out the door. The bloke just shrugged and was like, well, they did it quicker than I expected them to. And I thought, yeah, but you've just bloody... I thought they were going to be in there 20 minutes. I was basically packing them off into the mirror maze thinking, I'll see you in a year. I'll see you later. You're not my problem anymore. You belong to the maze. But they weren't even in there a minute, and it was outrageous. So, but they were there. All that tap was there, and it was like, ugh. Like, stop inviting them to our market and just only invite good stuff. So we left that. But again, Ollie was starting to have a bit of a meltdown. We have learned, actually, when he's having a bit of a, it's all falling apart, I asked him if he wanted us to swing him. And so we both held his hand and we went 1, 2, 3, woo! And the 3 times we've done that today, while he's been having a meltdown, it has completely redirected his energy and his thoughts, and he's ended up excited and chuffed because we're trying to swing him all the way to the moon and all this sort of stuff. And so it's nice knowing that we've learned a little trick there for when he's having a proper little moment. But that won't work for any other people. The teachers aren't going to do it for him. So I will ride that while it lasts, but it's not going to last for long. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because, sorry, it has been a 20-odd minute video, but it's been a funny old day. I'm trying to think what else we've actually done. I've just been playing Pokemon stuff, I think. We got Meltan, and that's about it, I think. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll obviously do a video tomorrow because it's Monday. I hope you've all had a good weekend. Let me know in the comments what you've been up to. Let me know if you check out JT Crowley and his books, because... I just want to know. I want him to do well. I really want to see how he goes, and I'm hoping he ends up going far. But anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, and all that stuff. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great week. Cheers.